Okay. Rehearsal 3, 4. Hi, I'm JD, not John. There are only two people who ever dared or insisted on calling me John, and neither is in this room. Even my mom, when she was angry, started my full legal name with JD. It was JD John David, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to list all the names my mom called me. You'll think of a few yourselves as I share my humorous tale of traumatic childhood head and brain injuries and post traumatic shock, TBI and PTS. I grew up your typical sugar saturated and hyper energetic 1970s kid, smothered and overprotected one day, outside, unsupervised playing all day and night the next. Schwinn banana seat bicycles with chopper handlebars, roller skates and skateboards, growing it up into roller blades and water skiing and snowboarding. I have a sister a year and a half older and a sister a year and a half younger, and they were both a good bit taller than me growing up. So, of course, they ended up with bigger, stronger, faster bicycles with hand brakes and finger controlled gear shifters and plastic red, white, and blue streamers flying in the wind behind them like the hair on the wild horses their friends loved imagining and telling me all about while I played with my matchbox cars and little green army men in the rockery and flower gardens around our yard. Their bikes were cleaner and much less banged up than mine, too. So when we had friends over to ride and race and build elaborate wooden ramps to jump up and over things, my sister's bikes were the big deal. One day we did have a bunch of friends over. There were six, eight, maybe 35 to 100 of us. Really, eight or a dozen kids descending on one house for a few hours was common in our neighborhood. In fact, the older kids were expected during the summers to congregate us at different houses on different days. Eventually, that house's kids would get called inside to clean and calm down, while the rest of our rambunctious gang got sent off to play in one of the many schools or parks within our quickly expanding territory. We could fit two or three riders racing side by side from the backyard to the front, pushing and kicking each other, hooting and hollering all the way. It was a 25-yard straight sprint from the cherry tree at the back fence along the side of the house and out past the front, where two flights of concrete stairs climbed up to the front porch and down to the sidewalk and street below and beyond. Sometimes we'd make it a 40-yard race from the apricot tree across the backyard, past the cherry tree, around the corner of the house, and then down the long side straightaway sprint. I watched our thick, moist Seattle grass give way gently as the older riders in the first few races slammed on their brakes, skidding into smooth stops or a big, mangled, laughing pile of kids and steel bicycles lying in the middle of our front yard. Well before the imaginary finish lines disappeared over the lower steps and 5 foot high concrete bulkhead that separated our grassy, soft yard and the driveway, sidewalk, and street below and beyond. When it was my turn that day, I missed the brakes. I had one of the biggest bikes and forgot the brakes were on the handlebars. Instead of locking the back wheel into a glamorous skid and sporty stop, my feet spun off the pedals like Fred Flintstone, clawing grass and dirt in frantic, spinning futility before time slowed and my memories disappear like our imaginary finish lines. As the bike and I tumbled through, up, over, as the bike and I tumbled up and over and down those six concrete steps onto the sidewalk and street below and beyond. We didn't have a lot of races in our yards after that. We all became childhood traumatic head and brain injury and post traumatic shock survivors, first responders, and informed friends and family caregivers that day. And then we very quickly started exaggerating, embellishing, mocking my accidents and head and brain injuries over family campfires and holiday cookouts. It was a healthy way of bringing up and talking about some of the long lasting and often unseen or forgotten lifetime impacts childhood TBI and PTS can have on families and friends over decades of love, loss, and laughter. I survived a series of childhood traumatic head and brain injuries and a series of sports related concussions and I very well may have permanent physical scarring or mechanical damage on or inside my brain. Missing and elusive memories and recurring nightmares do still complicate and confound my life in a few very specific, well known, and predictable ways. And we laugh hysterically about each and every injury, accident, and trauma whenever it helps any one of us remember not only what we are overcoming and living with, but also and especially the joy and encouraging humor we share with ourselves and others. Enjoy the rest of your evening and thanks be to God and this earth we live on.